Halt! The episode which you are streaming has orders from the Daleks Supreme Council. You are ordered to subscribe and exterminate the like button. Failure to do so will result in your death. Begin transmission.
Welcome, audience members. You are now entering the Parliament of the Daleks, a Doctor Who podcast focusing on the toys, action figures, and merchandise from the past, present, and future of our favorite sci-fi franchise. I'm your Dalek fanatic host, Wade, joined by figure expert Alex and Captain Kitbasher Jack, in our first episode for 2022, Worriers of the Deep. This will also be a part of, quote-unquote, Season 2 of Parliament of the Daleks. Why we did this? No reason, other than for fun and keeping track of our episodes. So today we'll be taking a look at Character Options 5.5-inch figures for B&M and Character Online, and discussing our thoughts on the latest sets that are available to purchase as of this time. First things off, Alex, what does B&M have in store for us?
Well, in B&M stores at the moment, we have the latest exclusive release, which is a set based on the very first Fourth Doctor story, Robot, featuring, of course, the K1 robot, as well as a repaint of the Fourth Doctor in his original Season 12 costume. The K1 robot has been tweaked slightly from his original Build-A-Figure release, with a more pinkish hue to the originally red paint deco and translucent red head, as well as a grey neck and a smaller right-hand claw. The Fourth Doctor has had several changes, with a new lighter red jacket, pattern tie, and speckled trouser detailing, to name a few. The set is priced £19.99 and should be in most good B&M stores now.
So this set looks pretty cool, and it is a little bit surprising that Character Options finally, after more than a decade, decided to re-release the K1. Now, of course, for people like me, we're a little bit bummed that we've spent all of this money on parts or whatnot to build our own K1, but what's really cool about this one is the way Alduar updated it. Now, I believe, Alex, you and Jack both have this thing in hand right now. What are your overall thoughts on the latest re-release and some of the updates that they provided for it?
I really like it. I never owned the original Build-A-Figure. I didn't even own any of the parts to it, but I really like it. I think the silver's really nice, and the pink helps differentiate it enough from the original to sort of not annoy the collectors who spend all the money, like yourself, on building the original Build-A-Figure. And I like the Tom Baker as well. I really like the Tom Baker. I think, for me, and I don't want to upset Alduar here by saying this, but I'm not a massive Tom Baker fan, so I can hear him sort of loading his gun as I'm saying this sentence, but I'm not a massive Tom Baker fan, so I don't really care about owning all the different variants of his costumes. So this will probably be my definitive Fourth Doctor for the shelf, because it's really nice. I think normally I'm not a fan of them casting the jacket or the trousers in just the plastic and not painting it, but for the jacket I think it really works. It's got like a cherry red gumminess to it, like the look, and I really like it. And I think it works well for the scarf, especially where it's sort of new on for this time frame, so it wouldn't be as dirty. But yeah, I would say the only problem I have with the K1, which is on the original, is the wobbly waist, but that could be fixed. I fixed mine with a twisty tie. I just tied it round and then tucked it up the back under the sort of chest cavity.
Yeah, that was pretty ingenious how you did that, and it works pretty good overall. Alex, what are your thoughts on this set, seeing it in hand, and especially comparing it with its older figure counterparts?
Yeah, it's interesting, really, because I can really compare this figure to the original without any, dare I say, sort of bias as to the amount of money being spent normally on the original. Because as you guys know from what I said in the pilot episode, I got the original K1 robot for £15 at Comic-Con, which is insane.
Nuts to think about. You still got it cheaper than B&M.
I know, exactly. So I got both of them very cheap. And, both versions are great. The only thing my original was missing was the gun, so that was one of my main motives for buying this set. So I could finally have the little disintegrator gun. And yeah, I think what this set does so excellently with the K1 is every change that has been done makes it more screen accurate, but the changes don't feel unnecessary like certain other re-releases we've had in the past. So it allows the original to keep its, original value, and for those who originally built it to still feel a sense of accomplishment, while we can still allow newer fans and collectors to be able to buy this one and to buy one cheaply. And yeah, I think I like the sort of purpley tint they've got going on. It's really nice. And I think for me, I like the slightly shinier silver they've used on the paint, because when you look at the actual prop, it's a very shiny, cheap silver. So I feel like they've replicated that just a little bit better. And yeah, the interesting thing is that they've obviously had the smaller claw hand, which for me, I don't know if it was really worth it, like in terms of the cost for like a new sculpt. So at least it's a little something in terms of the sculpting department. Although, despite it being on the right hand way to hold his gun, I do think the original hand holds the gun better, with this thinner one sort of holding it a bit more loosely.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too, does it hold the gun at a weird angle, kind of like the actual prop in the show? Because all it was just two little clasps on the side where they attached the gun, and of course it didn't hold it properly, so it was always like nose down or even nose up. Sometimes it was always janky. Does it replicate that in any way with this new hand?
Yeah, it does. It kind of sort of, it's a bit droopy because obviously the sort of weight of the gun sort of at the front sort of brings it downwards a bit. So yeah, it sort of fits in with the overall floppiness of the entire look of the robot. And yeah, speaking of floppiness, the waist piece is really loose, and when I first got out of the box, it was tricky to stand up, but now I found a bit of a knack for it, and it managed to stand up okay. But in general, the articulation is a lot looser on this one, which I just assume is due to the manufacturing process, rather than it being built by hand. Yeah, some parts where I don't mind the looseness, like on the arms and things, but yeah, on something like the waist, it's a bit more concerning.
Now, do you think that because it's been 12 years since Al has pretty much, actually, is it 12 years? Am I even saying that right? Gosh, forget 12 years, guys. This thing came out 2008. What is that, 14 years? Jeez. So, sorry about that. Let me correct myself. So, it's been 14 years since we've seen this. Do you think that because of times changing and different plastics being used, do you feel like they used a softer kind of plastic to make this as opposed to harder plastic? How does it feel overall in hand compared to the original?
I don't. I mean, I'd say it feels pretty much the same actually. I don't feel like the plastic is like particularly soft because it's still the more hard ABS mostly, especially with the torso and everything. So it still feels pretty robust and pretty much the same, although I'd say maybe like the claws are a little bit softer. But that's really about it. I don't think the feel is any cheaper or lighter or anything like that.
That's pretty good then. So overall, would you say that even though this is a re-release, this is something worthy of buying again for your collection?
Absolutely, especially for the price. And really, for me, the main selling point was the fourth Doctor variant, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. So yeah, but I think even if you're someone who owns the original K1, I still think this is actually worth the pickup for the price.
Yeah, overall, I really like this set. And like I said before, even though I'm building my original, all I need is one more part, really. All I need is a spare leg. If anyone has a spare K1 leg, be sure to shoot me a DM. But I actually really like this new re-release that they did, mainly because, like what you guys said, it looks more accurate and it has a certain feel of authenticity. And I feel like the quality really pulls through in this set. I like the brighter silver, and then I also really like the fact that they used a little bit more of a pink magenta color for what was originally red on the first iteration. They did it for the dome on top and then for the red lining on the sides. Having it in this color looks really nice, actually, and it, in my opinion, captures the prop very well. And I think it is worthy of buying again, just to have that little bit of extra authenticity to it. And for all you Capaldi fans out there, you can pretty much buy this thing, and then if you read the Doctor Who comics, you may know that there's a quote unquote K2 robot in the series. Basically just the K1 robot being like revived or something like that. But you could maybe just about get away calling this thing the K2 and have it with your Capaldi collection. But anyways, that's just for fun. So after that K1 robot, let's discuss this fourth Doctor figure. Now, in Al's original video, he mentioned that they used an entirely new head sculpt for this fourth Doctor. But what do you guys think? I think we all know the answer here, right?
Yeah, the sculpt is definitely the version that debuted in the 11th Doctor's set on the Seeds of Doom figure. It has been on multiple releases since. It is absolutely identical, just painted a lot better, in my opinion. And yeah, the idea that the sculpt is new is, yeah, it's not true. It is the old sculpt. But the interesting thing about it is that, as we all know, there was a new sculpt made, as posted on the Affable Design Company Facebook page yesterday. And you can see that the face design was intended to be the Terror of the Zygons style face, with newly done hair and hat and everything that would have been on this figure. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to think what that would have been like.
Mess.
Now, Jack, are you happy that they used this old Seeds of Doom head, or would you have preferred them to use the new head, like Al says they were going to use, or did use, but didn't use? We don't know if this is a factory error, or if they just opted to use the Seeds of Doom, or if this head was on reserve from Affable, or if this is going to come in a new figure down the road. We literally have no idea, but whatever happened, there was a mess up of some kind, right? So, Jack, what do you think of the head sculpt?
I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but I literally think the mold for the head should be like cast into the sea. It is awful. It looks like Miriam Margolyes, okay? It literally does. It looks like an old woman wearing Tom Baker's clothes. It doesn't look right. It looks... I'm not saying I could do a better job, but I couldn't. But I'm not getting paid, and it's not my profession to do this, sculpt work. And it looks nothing like Tom Baker. It looks like a weird, pudgy old man version of Tom Baker. It's not good. It needs to go. I don't really care about the Tom Baker era anyway, but if I was to, a gun to my head and I had to pick, I would say go with the Seeds of Doom head.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, for me, in my opinion, I think the head sculpt does look like Tom Baker, but as you say, it's like a slightly older Tom Baker. He doesn't really look how he did during his tenure, which I think is the real problem. Is just a slightly too many creases and wrinkles and jowling and everything that just throw it off a little bit. And I think with the Zygons figure release we got, I think one of the biggest issues with the way it was painted, I think the eyes were just way too big. They're actually off center as well. If you look at the sculpt on the figure, the eyes are painted, I think, a little bit lower. So that really throws it off. And then obviously they're very vibrant blue. It just looks distracting. It's horrible. And yeah, there is something about the sculpt that is off, even though it is a good likeness to Tom Baker. I think the Seeds of Doom one is so much better, and I'm really glad they used it on this K1 robot release in the end, because it just, for me, it's my second favorite Tom Baker head after the season 18 one.
Yeah, I think I can agree with you. This head sculpt is rather interesting. We all know how the Zygons one came about and how it was painted and everything, and while there were certain aspects where I could absolutely see the likeness in Tom Baker, it was like if you turned it a half a degree either way, there was just something that looked off, and it kind of does make Tom look a lot older than how he appeared in this season. Especially, like, if you ask me, season 13 was like when he was in his prime for the role. That was when he had the character down and everything. But looking at this, there are certain aspects where I think that captures Tom Baker pretty well. Namely, they definitely got the nose, they got a little bit of the chin, but I think the problem is just like going with the cheeks and then like under the jaw. It's like they get very round, it feels like, just making him look older than what he should.
It looks like, to me, like those weird sort of CG animated movies where they'll go almost realistic with their design, but still a bit cartoony at the same time. That's what it looks like to me.
So this is video game Tom Baker.
Yeah, it's got like a bit of uncanny valley.
It is. It really is, actually. And I'm not saying this thing's a terrible sculpt, not by any means.
I am.
I could see a lot of talent put into this. I think it just needs a little bit more tweaking, and I'm not entirely sure why they continue to use this.
The thing I like to sort of think about here as well is with this new head sculpt, I wonder if the actual tooling for it does exist or not, if it's just the sculpt design and it never actually got made into new tooling or not. Because maybe they designed it and then the budget hit them and they went, actually, we can't use it. Or it is just a cock up of the factory. It's interesting to sort of think about that.
It could be either or tinfoil hats are now removed.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to finish off with is I've not really talked about the paint apps on the Fourth Doctor that much, and I've just got to say that they've really nailed this one. It is such an improvement on the original season 12 release. The lighter red jacket is really good, and as Jack said, I'm not usually a fan of them just casting in the plastic, but this one works absolutely fine. And yeah, even the lack of dirt wash on the scarf I thought was a bit of like they just sort of skipped that, but it is his first appearance in this outfit, so the scarf is going to be very clean. And for me, the main thing is the patterning on the tie. I just think that is
that's very
really
impressive.
the main thing that the first one was missing, and it's so good to see it on this one, and they've done it really well.
I agree.
And I've got to say, I really like the speckling effect on the trousers. And it's interesting to note that the speckling they've done on this is different to the Terror of the Zygons one.
You were able to compare both of them, and you said that the Zygon one had bigger speckles and darker ones, but it was more of a colder gray, whereas this new release is a bit more of a warmer gray with the tint of brown to it almost, and then like lighter speckling. How did you describe it?
Yeah, I'd say the Zygons one, basically the trousers are cast in grey plastic, like it's quite cold grey. And then with that, they put very heavy black speckles on, as well as some brown speckles in there as well. And I did like that effect at the time, but I do think this new one is better because what they've done is they've actually painted the trousers a base colour of the sort of, it is like a warm grey, sort of light brown kind of colour. And then they've just gone with a much more subtle speckling of just dark brown, which I think, it's a lot more subtle and it works very nicely.
I think it looks absolutely gorgeous, and I'm glad you brought up the costume too, because if you don't want this set for the K1 robot, you want this set for this Fourth Doctor. Like Jack said, this is as definitive as it gets. And I really love the Season 12 costume. I would love to be able to piece together the full outfit one of these days. In fact, I'm getting a custom scarf made for me right now. But I love the brighter red jacket. Now, even though it is really off-putting at first.
Well, the promotional pictures didn't do it any good. They made it really garishly bright.
Yeah, the promotional photos don't do good. They never do any good. Al, you could just hire me as your photographer. I'll do this all for you. For Doctor Who toys. Just keep that in mind. I'm cheap labor. But yeah, this new jacket, it's really cool how they did it, because when I look at it, it actually looks like that kind of almost velvety material that they used for the actual coat. It's got that weird fuzziness to it. And then the same with the pants as well, doing it in the warmer tone for the coloring. It makes it almost look like fabric. And I'm sure the way this thing photographs is going to look incredible in any sort of toy photography or product photography. And then, like you said too, that tie makes all the difference in the world. I can't believe we got printing on that small of a scale before. It's actually really an impressive feat for paint apps, because there's some Hasbro figures out there that don't even go to that level of detail.
Well, most toy companies don't go to that level of detail anymore. I mean, take a look at McFarlane where they don't paint anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I tell you what, that's the benefit of having someone who is insanely biased towards the figures they're making. But then again, Todd McFarlane is too, and he doesn't give a toss.
Yeah, he loves Batman, but his Batman are barely painted. But yeah, back to this Tom Baker, though. For me, this is probably my second favourite variant they've ever done of the Fourth Doctor, with my number one still being the 13 Doctors set, Season 18 one. But yeah, this one is really up there for me. So definitive, and yeah, everything about it is just perfect.
And I'd say the set is 99.9% perfect. I think the only thing, and I don't know why Al didn't include this, when can we get some sonic screwdrivers again?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
If this set had a Sonic with it, that is top tier stuff. You would have everything you could have ever needed as a kid. It would have been great. Or, actually, even if you ask me, it'd be cool too if he did just a little mini white bag with jelly babies and then like they're all painted at the top of it. That would be pretty fun too. I'm not saying we need that, but it fits with the episode, right?
Especially since he said that they have the digital sculpts for a bag of jelly babies and he's always wanted to have it included.
Yeah, they did prototype it, but for whatever reason, they just decided not to include it in the end. I think because maybe it looked a bit vague on such a small scale, and people might not notice what it actually was.
They maybe could have done it for this set.
Yeah, I really do wonder what stops them from including a Sonic. I mean, surely it doesn't cost them that much more money to make it.
It cost them 0.007834 cents of a pound. I don't know.
And that's the official numbers, okay?
That's confirmed.
That is confirmed.
All right, I think that covers that set nicely. Now, this is what you can buy at B&M stores, hopefully right about now. Unfortunately, with B&M distribution and everything, we don't know for sure. But this isn't the only thing you can buy right now. If you go on Character Online right now, just Tuesday, they announced a brand new exclusive set. Alex, what did they announce?
Okay, so yeah, yesterday, Character Options announced their new online exclusive set, Warriors of the Deep. This set features the 3 Command Silurian crew of Iktar, Tarpok, and Skibbus. I'm sorry, by the way, if I've mispronounced those names, because I've not seen this story. As seen in the 1984 story. The 3 figures are near identical, however, do have some minor paint variation on their third eye to represent whether their eyes are lit up or not, with one having a red eye and the remaining being black. The legs and upper arms are reused sculpts from the Sea Devil figure, however, everything else is brand new, which is really the main selling point of this set. The figures come packaged in the standard Heritage Style Guide packaging we're familiar with, however, larger than normal and with an interior featuring a 3D card diorama insert. The set is available exclusively through Character Online, priced £29.99 and limited to 5,000 units and are selling fast, so if you want these, get them.
Yeah, right now, this as of we're recording this video, it is Wednesday, February 16th. We don't know for sure, but it's acting like on the website like they've sold more than 2,000 or even 3,000 units. So, but we're thinking they might be able to restock it, kind of like what they did for the Second Doctor in TARDIS from the Abominable set. You might be wondering why I said Worriers of the Deep in our episode's title, or basically it's a pun of Warriors of the Deep. But we'll go into why we titled it like this, because I think it's safe to say all 3 of us are a bit questionative about this set.
Yeah, we have our worries.
Yeah, we have our worries about this set. And we'll explain one by one. We'll start with you, Jack.
Gather round. It's time for another reason to hate me. I cannot stand. There's no paint. There's like, it's been shown to a dry brush. It's not even been dry brush. It's just been put in the same room as someone with a dry brush. The arms are spindly. They look ridiculous. They're like 8 foot tall in comparison to the 5th Doctor. They're identical. We're paying £30 and everyone's saying, oh, isn't that a bargain? Isn't that great? Isn't that this? Isn't that that? It's not a bargain. That's £10 for an unpainted bit of plastic in the rough shape of a Silurian. And at that, not even the one anyone wants. It's from the story that everyone doesn't really care about. What do you think, Wade and Alex?
Okay, so for me, this set, I think it's an unusual choice. Like, I'll be frank, it's really unusual. I'm not sure why they've decided to go for this Silurian design, let alone even having Silurians be the choice for the online exclusive. I personally, it's weird. Like, if you compare this set to the previous 2 online exclusives, those being the Jungles of Mechanus and the Abominable Snowmen, both of those 2 sets gave us things that Doctor Who collectors have been wanting for ages. That being movie Daleks and the Second Doctor in his iconic fur coat. Whereas this I don't think any of us really were asking for this, which I think is where character have lost it a little.
Also, I'll stop being the overdramatic now. This set in quality doesn't really match up with the past two exclusives. Like the first Daleks, they had the new ear lights and the paint was so crisp. They had that nice metallic blue. They had the lighter glossy blue. They had the sort of silvery, all the paintwork was lovely on it. Then you had the TARDIS and Second Doctor. You had electronics. You had a brand new sculpt that we thought we'd never get with the Second Doctor. Then we had a new roof. Was it a new? It was, wasn't it? Or was it reused?
No, it's just doors. The roof
Oh,
was
yeah,
old
sorry.
and reused.
We got new doors, and the paintwork on the TARDIS was amazing. And then you fast forward to this set, it looks like it's been made by a different company. It looks so cheap in comparison to the past two exclusives.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm somewhat reserving my judgment till I get this in hand in terms of the way the plastic looks. Because we know that by now, these promotional shots, they never do these figures any justice. They always make them look really bright and saturated and, yeah, pretty nasty. And yeah, and on the pictures, yeah, the plastic looks cheap and really nasty, and the color doesn't even look right to the actual Silurians in the story. But yeah, I'm reserving my judgment on that until I get them in hand, because if you look at some of the reviews that are out at the moment, they do seem a bit better. I mean, not perfect, but certainly better than they do in the promo shots. So yeah, I think the main issue for me with these Silurian figures is the arms. I cannot get behind the arm sculpts on these, because what has happened here is they've reused the upper arms of the Sea Devil figure. So then the lower arms have been made to accommodate to fit those. But the problem is the Sea Devil arms are too skinny and don't feature the scaling effect that is on these Silurians. Same goes for the legs, but I don't mind them quite as much, because I understand there needs to be at least some reuse somewhere to make these, viable. But the arms really annoy me. They are pretty skinny, and there's no way of redeeming that compared to things like the paint and things like that I could fix if I really think it's bad. So that's my main gripe with the set. But I think the sculpts that they have done and that are new are really good. I think the torso sculpt's good. The head sculpt, I think it looks fantastic. Looks exactly like how the Silurians were in that story. So it's really good. Details all nicely captured. But yeah, and then I think the packaging is a bit too big. Like, it seems a little excessive almost, really, for what is in it. But I understand there's the 3D bit of the backdrop and stuff, but yeah.
Who is doing the posing for these sets? They look like they've just been chucked in at random. They don't even know. They look like they don't know what they're doing in the box.
Exactly. That's my other thing I was going to say, is the posing of them. I wouldn't mind if they sort of made to look like they were moving some controls or something like that, but they all just are at different angles and are all static in their pose. It looks really unusual.
Their poses look exactly how I was walking around my room trying to understand what was the point of this set.
Yeah, this is the first, and I can legitimately say this is the first Doctor Who set that's come out in quite a long time where I look at it and I like it. Overall, I do like it, but I don't love it. I'm not as concerned with the reuse of Sea Devil parts or that the arms are skinny. Yes, it does look a little bit weird, but I'm a little more, I guess, forgiving than you guys. But I also recognize where you guys are coming from as well.
Wait, what did you think of the Black Chrysanthemum Black Series figure that was just announced?
Oh, geez, that's a worse atrocity than this thing.
It's the same
by
thing.
far.
It's the same thing. It's got skinny
They just
legs.
painted Chewbacca black.
All these people have done is paint a Sea Devil orange with a new
They
check.
gave this thing new parts.
The bias towards Doctor Who is incredible. If any other company was doing this, they'd be laughed at and ridiculed. But because it's Doctor Who and character options, everyone gives them a free pass.
I'm not giving them a free pass. I'll tell you why I don't like this set. Mainly because it's a Warriors of the Deep set, but why do we not have a Sea Devil?
Exactly.
Yes.
You could have had Silurians, 2 Silurians in it, and then a Sea Devil. That thing would have been incredible.
No, but wait, there's 3 of everything.
3 of everything.
Imagine that Sea Devil as a figure. Like, and I'm hoping Al would be able to make that Sea Devil a reality soon, but I am a little disappointed in the fact that they didn't try to attempt to give us a Sea Devil or something else just to add, I guess, a flair to it, because we're really just getting 3 of the same figure. And that's what I think is a little weird. For the price, I'm not mad at the price per se, but my argument is, had they bumped up the price to, I don't know, maybe $34.99 or maybe even $39.99, and that gave us a chance to get that Sea Devil, I would have paid it. Absolutely. And I already have an idea in mind how they could do it. They could definitely do it with a new Sea Devil head sculpt with the helmet and everything, and maybe even modify the old one. Maybe they could figure out a way to cut off the side fins and then put a helmet on. They could get creative. I don't know, but I'm just going to assume they'll make a new head sculpt. I've got a general idea of a recipe they could use for kit bashing some parts with the arms or legs or whatnot. But really, all they need for it, the whole entire thing is wrapped in a cloak of armor. That could be done with a long PVC skirt wrap, I think. I think you could be able to achieve some great effects by just wrapping PVC parts around the body and then maybe parts of the legs or whatnot. I feel like had they increased the price a little bit and increased their budget, they could have given us a Sea Devil in this set, and that would have made it more valuable.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with what Wade's said. I mean, the Sea Devil design in that story, I think, is brilliant. And I would have much preferred, like, if you gave me an option of having a set of 3 of those Sea Devils, or these 3 Silurians we've got, I would have gone for Sea Devils, because the design is so cool. I love that samurai-style look.
Same.
I would have gone for the Sea Devils.
It's really cool. Probably one of the very few good things, really, to come from that story, really. But, like,
Well, you've not even seen it. How can you roast it? You've not even watched it.
Well, people tell me things.
We got Fish Samurai. That's a story that's good, but we're also getting a Sea Devil story in like a few months. So why wouldn't have this been the perfect opportunity?
Yeah, would have been topically relevant to do it. Yeah.
That was my thinking as well. Like, it's the 50th anniversary of Sea Devils. We could have gotten one. Why not commemorate the Sea Devils in their year? And hopefully maybe Al will make a Sea Devil for Series 13. I doubt it, but I would love to see it. But yeah, that's my ultimate reason for not loving this set. I would have loved to have seen at least one Sea Devil. Had that happened, or why not do a 4-pack, for goodness sake? The packaging is big enough. They could just do 2 Silurians and then 2 Sea Devils. I would have paid £40 for 4 figures like that, especially of that quality.
Yeah, that would have been so much cooler. I mean, yeah, I think this is the issue, really, in general, is this set's lack of variety. I think that's what is rubbing people the wrong way. It just... I think if this was like a single carded figure and they maybe charged like £10-15 each for one, people might have not had this issue. I mean, I personally think the value for money in this set is absolutely there. I'm not in that particular argument. Because ultimately, if you think about like a Hasbro figure, for example, you're paying £20 for one figure. But here, you're paying £10 more and you're getting 3 figures, even if they are all the same. But there's enough new parts to justify it. But yeah, I do think having 3 of them is a little monotonous, and it essentially forces people to buy multiples they don't want. And I think the reason this is, at least thinking from budget perspective, this means there is basically there are 1,500 Silurian figures that have been produced, being put into these packs.
No, it's not that there's 1,500. There's 15,000.
Damn.
It's 5,000 times 3. So that's, and kind of like what you said too, they almost could have made this a single carded figure and just produced that many, but it makes you wonder, did they have, I'm thinking they maybe not were as confident in a Silurian from this story especially selling 15,000 units. But when you include 3 of them in one package, you're basically saving costs in that sense, or distribution wise or whatnot, or even just selling them single carded online. 15,000 units is a way bigger number than 5,000 units.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, yeah, 15,000 units would, that's going back to like mainstream retail action figure days, basically, in terms of the amount of units that you need to sell to make a profit. And that's what this figure is, basically, with the amount of new parts it has. So I think character have been clever here, and they've basically gone, well, we're not going to sell that many, because, like, if these were single carded, I'd only buy one, personally. I don't know about you guys. I'd just buy the one and I'd be happy. So I think what they've done is they've gone, we can shift the amount that we need to shift to make this profitable if we present them in a 3-pack and have it limited to 5,000, and it works out. So they've been sneaky and they've been clever.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I understand they're still a business at the end of the day. They need to make profit. And I also realize I'm pretty sure we're going to get a 70s Silurian for the B&M range. So that'll just double their profit in as well. I don't have a problem with that. Kudos to them that they were able to do this. But yet again, it goes back to the Sea Devil. Had they included a Sea Devil in just this set, I don't think we'll ever see that Sea Devil in B&M. Maybe we'll see a Sea Devil in a 3-pack like this for Character Online in a year or two. I would certainly love to. That was the real heartbreaker for me, so to speak, was the fact that we have this story. Those are the only two things this story is regarded for: the Silurians and the Sea Devils. And all you get is one half of the storyline. And it just doesn't feel complete, and it doesn't feel right. I think the figures themselves, I'm overall fine with. I just really think they just need like a dark brown or black paint wash all over the whole thing. That way we can see their fine details and make them a little bit darker, as opposed to these bright colors they got going on.
But yeah, I mean, going back to the 70s Silurian, though, I think that is another part of this strategy, is I think they've released the Silurian design that people want less as being the first one to come out, so people buy it.
As the exclusive.
So then you release the more popular variant later, and then people will buy that. So yeah, I think there is, ultimately, just having 3 in the set is not really a creative choice of there's 3 in the story. It's more, we need to make a profit from this, and we need to make sure that people, buy future variants and things. I'm not hating on character for doing that. I'm just pointing that out as what is happening.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with that either. I understand business.
Because they're a business. They need to make money, and this is the way they do that. And people can like that, people can not like that. And I'm in the middle. I don't mind it. They can, this is how the toy industry works. It's how it goes.
Could they not use this same logic then to make like New Who stuff? Like I said the other day, they could do 3 oxygen spacesuits. They could do the 12th Doctor with a new head, because he needs a proper head, because the past 2 have either looked like a depressed old man or a teenager with grey hair. But then you could do Bill Potts on the river body, and then a space zombie, or you could do the blue guy. And then
I'd do that.
You could do 3 colony Mondasians, or if they really wanted to be clever with it, like used to were saying with what they've done with the release the variant nobody really cares about, and then use the money you've made from this to release ones they do care about. Couldn't they use the same thing to do like a Nightmare in Silver Cyberman and a Cyber Warrior, being as they share a lot of the same body?
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, this is something I'm going to say, is that while this particular Silurian set is not like the ideal set where you think, oh, having 3 of them and making it a set is like the most popular choice.
The precedent it sets is a good idea, though.
I actually like this formula. Yeah, exactly. I like this format. I could certainly see this in the future working really well for, say, if you had a set of 3 Nightmare in Silver Cybermen in a set. Because I'd happily do that if that meant that those figures would be profitable. And to be fair, I would have bought 3 anyway of that kind of figure.
Oh, geez, I'd buy more than 3.
Yeah, exactly. I think people would argue build them more than this. So I think character have missed a thing there.
And they could produce more units too.
I think 3 packs would be fine, and I think 2 packs would be passable, and I think would work out somewhat better. And yeah, I think single packs, as much as I'd like them, I don't think they're viable in terms of making money.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet. RTD2 boys.
And for everyone listening, of course we're going to sound like a bunch of haters on the air, but for goodness sakes, we're the fools. You guys, I know both bought this, right?
We've all bought this set.
I'll see if I can order one. For all you international customers outside of the UK, Character Online is fantastic with their shipping services, and they even lower the price to account for other nations' currencies, which kudos to them. I couldn't be more happy that they have their customers in mind and that they care and provide for them. They go above and beyond, and I have never had a problem with them to date. Character Online is phenomenal to their international customer base. Like I said before, we might sound like a bunch of haters, but really, we did buy this set, except for me. I'm going to see if I can. I'm having my own financial problems. But ultimately, as much as we gripe or harp down about this set, there is a lot that and I'm sure it's safe to say, there is quite a bit that all three of us admire at the end of the day when it comes to these Doctor Who products. And it's nice to know that even though it's less than ideal, we are still getting Doctor Who toys, and especially of 80s Silurians. I mean, I've had the Daypal one for years, and I thought that would be the only one we'd ever get. The Daypal one is actually really nice, and it has thicker arms. It's got a great skeleton, dark paint apps. Little did I know that we would be able to get this from Character Options.
So yeah, I'm just really grateful to see characters like this being released. You know, who'd think that we'd get an 80s Silurian? I think it's niche, but it's really good that we're getting it, even if it's not everyone's first choice or favorite choice. And it's actually good to see that classic Doctor Who still has this amount of life in it, even if it means that New Who is lacking as a result. It is, it's good to see the Doctor Who line thrive like this. And I really hope, as much as we do have issues with this set, that this set sells really well, because I think the formula that this set is providing is really good, and I desperately want to see more things like this in the future. So, I really hope that this is really successful as much as the previous online exclusives were. And that is where the whole Worriers from the Deep thing comes from, because I'm a little worried that they have, somewhat jumped the shark in terms of going for a very, very popular choice that would sell, faster and show an extra amount of popularity. But, at the end of the day, I think the set will sell out and it's going to, make character a lot of money, and they'll be dead happy, and we'll get more wonderful online exclusives in the future. And I look forward to that. The on my Instagram story, I put up like polls like, you're going to buy this set, and what are your opinions on this set, things like that. And from the feedback that I've got, the feedback compared to, say, the Abominable Snowman set, the Abominable Snowman set, everybody loved it. Everyone thought it was great. But this set, there are people who are going, I'm not going to buy this, or I think it's okay, but I'm not going to buy it, or I like it, but these are not the characters I want, or, things like that. There are, people who choose not to buy this or don't like it for whatever reason, they like other things the character make. So therefore, if they don't like this particular set, it does not mean that they're a hater or they are somehow destroying the product line.
They're putting
or
the brand
being
under
the
threat.
problem. Exactly, that's it. It's like they're not, because they'll buy, say, the Abominable Snowman set because they like it, more. And I think there are people who have genuine criticisms about this set, and to ignore those, I think, is worrying, really.
And it's like a form of like mass psychosis that people are so like, yeah, it's like people are like petrified something bad's going to happen just because a few people slagging off a Silurian set simultaneously isn't going to put the brand under threat.
But it is worrying to see the weird controversy that has sparked about from this set. I've never seen this happen with any other Doctor Who sets or even the online exclusives like this. This is a weird trend that sparked about from this set, where it's just creating two polar opposites in opinions, and you can't say anything bad about Character Options, or you can't even critique this set by the forced positivity and how you are unable to criticize it in any way. We're not criticizing it. We're still going to buy these dang things. But we really are critiquing and doing an analysis about what is odd with it and what are some decisions that could have made this thing better than what it actually is. That's all what we are doing at the end of the day. That's what we do at this podcast.
I mean, this is it. I mean, people can have opinions. People are allowed to have negative opinions on this set if they want to. We can't stop people from being negative, can we? As much as I'm personally not, it's like, I'm not going to tell people that they're, like, bad for not liking this set.
Well, I mean, just to add to what you're saying, us three, we're absolutely in the minority of this. We're the only ones who are on the fence, but we're just barely positive. We're on the fence about this set, and we have our reasons why. But this whole forced positivity thing that sparked from this set alone, where people are overly defensive for character options, and sometimes they just miss the mark. They're humans like everyone else. They're imperfect. They make mistakes. This thing has a little bit more red flags to it than green flags.
Yeah, that's definitely, a thing that is interesting. Like, I mean, I personally, defend this stuff, but I think a lot of the collectors at the moment, I think they still have this level of paranoia about how the figure line almost ended in 2017-18, where they almost feel like they have an obligation to the figure line because they don't want to see it go down that path again.
And you know what? I think we're guilty of that too, to an extent.
And yeah, I think it's less about the show not being as big of a brand anymore, even though I do think it has shrunk to an extent. Compared to, say, 2010 or 2006, it's definitely smaller than it was then. But I think it's more about the toy industry changing more than Doctor Who changing. Because if you look at even other toy brands, they reuse lots of parts all the time, and the cost of manufacturing is far greater than it was in 2010. It's that those are the things that contribute more than the show.
And let's keep in mind, people, we had the Earthshock set come out how many months ago? And people complained about that, and they just ranted all over about how character options is ruining the brand by making this stupid, worthless set. And yeah, fair enough, it's a terrible set, but but this whole forced positivity thing just makes me think of Happiness Patrol at the end of the day. That's what the internet has turned it into. Happy, happy, happy. You cannot cry, you cannot be upset or mad. Otherwise, you'll get executed. But yeah, this whole controversy thing that sparked from this set, that's ultimately why we titled this episode the way we did, Worriers of the Deep, because frankly, we don't know what's going to come about from it or how it's going to affect future sets and how fans and collectors discuss their opinions amongst themselves online. It just feels weird having this forced positivity perspective.
And also, one thing I'd like to say is that if you love this set and are really positive about it, we're not saying you're fake about it or trying to defend the company necessarily.
Us personally, we're still a little bit on the fence about it. If you really like this set, good for you. If you love it, I'm happy for you. You got your Warriors of the Deep set. That's incredible. But it's become the point where we can't critique anything anymore because it's automatically assumed as criticism. Oh, you say one negative thing about it, you are a hater. You do nothing but criticize these toy companies and the products they make. Really, we're critiquing it at the end of the day. We want to see this brand at the best it's ever been, despite past circumstances, and we'll tell you how they could have done it. We could, kind of like what we said earlier, by making new sculpts for the arms, by adding a black wash or a dark brown paint wash all over the whole body. Tweaks like that, or for me, including a Sea Devil, things like that would have made this set go from great or good to absolutely brilliant, to pushing that mark that character options, and especially character online, is known for at this point. We got something that was good, but we could have gotten something that was fantastic. And that's ultimately why we're sharing our thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that.
And once we see it in hand, we already know it's going to look better in hand than it does on these online photos. Yeah, what a weird time to be a Doctor Who fan in 2022.
Yeah.
It's like there's been such great stuff, and then all of a sudden, what would you guys rate this set at? Taking all bias out of it, thinking about what we've gotten beforehand, what we're getting currently, or what's rumored. I don't even know what's rumored at this point, but like, I guess I do know some things. But keeping stuff like that in mind from past history of Doctor Who figures we've gotten, and then this set in particular, what would you rate this thing at? Would you say this is really poor quality? Would you say it's bad? It's good but needs tweaking? Is it great the way it is? Or are you of those that say this is fantastic and brilliant? I wouldn't change a single thing.
I would say purely because of how many new parts are in this, the thought that's gone into the packaging, I'd give it a halfway point. I'm not going to say it's rubbish, and I'm not going to say it's amazing. I'd say probably 5 out of 10. There's clear thought gone into it, but it's just been executed poorly, in my opinion.
Okay, that's a pretty fair analysis. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I'd say I feel pretty much the same. I mean, for me, taking the way that there's 3 of the same figure and all that aside, and also putting aside any idea of what we could have had instead of this type thing, let's look at this for what it is more than what it could have been. So on that objective level of, how good the Silurian figure is, on an individual level, I'd say I'd probably give it like at the moment 6 or 7 out of 10. Because it's a shame really that we're at a point where a lot of action figures are not like painted anymore, just cast in the plastic. So on a quality level, it's not as high as it could have been. But that's not to say it's bad. Because as I say, I think the head sculpts on these guys look absolutely fantastic. There's a lot to love here, even, despite all the other things. So yeah, I'd say at the moment, in terms of the situation of the release and everything, I'm leaning a little bit on the positive end. I'm like 6 out of 10 for me. Because there's a lot to love here, even, despite criticisms that we have about it.
And then my thing for being worried about this set goes back to the dang Sea Devil. That was what I was looking forward to the most, and I'm very much bummed that we didn't get a Sea Devil figure, but all I can do at this point is hope that Al will make a part 2 to this set, and that we will get 3 Sea Devils, because as soon as he does that, I know I'm buying like 5 or 10 of these. Well, thank you guys for doing this episode with me and talking about the latest Doctor Who toys. And last but not least, I'd like to thank you, the audience members, for listening to our podcast. If you enjoyed it, be sure to share it with your friends, and also be sure to leave a like and subscribe.
For 2022, we've got huge plans such as a Patreon or exclusive content like custom figures tutorials, kit bashing guides, and painting tutorials.
And be sure to check out our YouTube channel as well, as we'll be uploading high quality figure reviews and even more toy content, so throw us a bone.
And the goal of this podcast series is to cover the history of all Doctor Who figures and toys, so be sure to stay tuned for more. I'm your host, Wade, and this is the Parliament of the Daleks.
Their poses look exactly how I was walking around my room trying to understand what was the point of this set. It's the 3 stages of denial or grief, whatever the bloody phrase is. Yeah, but you bloody talked me into buying it. I wasn't going to, and then you said,
you know full well why you wanted to buy it, Jack. So don't point the finger at me.